Welcome to What Culture MMA. My name is Joe Hendry and today we're going to be discussing the 10 greatest champions in MMA history. Across all of sports, there are many accolades that an athlete can win, but when it comes to mixed martial arts, the thing that is most important is that championship title. And today, we are going to be looking at the top 10 champions who have had the greatest reigns in the history of the sport. Number 10, Chuck Liddell. The Iceman Chuck Liddell kicks off our top 10 list, and the reason that he's here is because he boasts 4 successful title defenses in the UFC light heavyweight division. Not only that, he finished his bouts in style. That's right, he finished all 4 of his successful title defenses with his outrageous punching power, and at the same time making Mohawks cool again. That's right, he was one of the key players in the UFC at the time that helped boost MMA and bring it to a whole new mainstream audience, and that's why, combined with the reign, that he is at our number 10. Number 9, Tito Ortiz. One of Chuck Liddell's key opponents, the Huntington Beach bad boy Tito Ortiz, ranks slightly above Chuck Liddell in this list. The reason that we've done that is because Tito boasts 5 successful title defenses in the ultra-competitive UFC light heavyweight division. Now, not only was Tito known for his charisma, but also his outrageous ground and pound. And again, along with Chuck, he was one of the key figureheads in the sport that helped bring MMA to a whole new audience. So along with the title defenses and the contribution to the sport, that's why he is at our number 9. Number 8, Randy the Natural Couture. Whilst Randy Couture doesn't boast the same number of successful title defenses that our other champions do in this list, we felt that Randy Couture deserved a special mention as our number 8 in this list. And the reason is because not only did he win championships in multiple weight classes, but he also did it multiple times. That's right, Randy Couture is a 3-time UFC heavyweight champion and a 2-time UFC light heavyweight champion. Not only was he in this sort of game of rock, paper, scissors with the light heavyweight championship alongside Chuck Liddell and Tito Ortiz, he also won the UFC heavyweight championship twice at the start of his career and once again towards the end of his career in 2007. And for that reason, Randy Couture is recognized as one of our greatest champions. Number 7, Matt Hughes. Matt Hughes was the original destroyer of the welterweight division, and the reason that he's our number 7 is because he boasts 7 successful UFC title defenses in the welterweight division, 5 of them being consecutive. Not only that, he finished all but 2 of his opponents in his successful title defenses. BJ Penn rudely interrupted his championship reign before he quickly lost the title to GSP. Then Matt Hughes returned to form, taking the title from GSP as one of his only 2 losses, before adding some title defenses and once again losing it to GSP, who held on to it until he gracefully walked away from the sport a few years ago. And for that reason, Matt Hughes is our number 7 on the list. Number 6, Ronda Rousey. Ronda Rousey boasts 7 successful title defenses, 6 of them being recognized in the UFC and 1 of them from Strikeforce before she was promoted to the UFC Bantamweight Women's Champion. The reason that Ronda is number 6 on our list isn't just because of the number of defenses, it's the way that she won her fights. Apart from one outing with Miesha Tate, Ronda finished every single one of her successful title defenses in the very first round. That's how dominant a champion she was until she encountered Holly Holm, who caused one of the biggest, if not the biggest upset in the history of MMA. And ever since then, ever since Ronda walked away from the sport, we've seen this hot potato with the Women's Bantamweight Championship, which shows just how strong and dominant a champion that Ronda was. We were not sure if she's going to return to the sport or if she's retired, but we do hope to see Ronda back in the octagon and perhaps one day again, the UFC Women's Bantamweight Champion. Number 5, Jose Aldo. With amazing striking, particularly vicious leg kicks, superb takedown defense and the cardio to go all 5 rounds, many people considered Jose Aldo to be one of the greatest MMA fighters of all time. And he boasts 8 successful UFC title defenses in the featherweight division. Now, it was all going swimmingly for Jose Aldo, who often found himself in contention for number 1 on the pound-for-pound list. That was until he encountered Conor McGregor, who he lost his title to in a total of 13 seconds. Now, after that devastating loss, Jose Aldo has bounced back and since then claimed the interim UFC Featherweight Championship with a defeat of Frankie Edgar, and now hopes to face Conor McGregor once again to reclaim his place at the very top of the UFC featherweight division. Beyond that, he could even look to add more title defenses, and then we might even see him climb to the very top of this list. Only time will tell. Jose Aldo is our number 5. Number 4, Demetrious Johnson. Mighty Mouse Demetrious Johnson is perhaps the most overlooked champion in MMA history. With his unbelievable speed and technique, he's managed to amass 8 successful UFC title defenses and is the inaugural UFC flyweight champion. Not only has he proved himself to be the most dominant flyweight of all time, but he's also perhaps regarded the king of the bonuses. That's right, he has won all of the UFC's designated bonuses at one time or another, from knockout of the night, performance of the night, fight of the night, and submission of the night. Alongside his bonuses, it should be noted that other than Jose Aldo's current interim championship, Mighty Mouse Johnson is currently the only undisputed UFC champion on this list. And what that means is that it would just take a few more defenses that could perhaps push Mighty Mouse Johnson to the very top of this list, and he could take his claim as the greatest champion in all of MMA. Only time will tell, but right now he's fought his way to number 4 on our greatest champions list. Number 3, Jon Jones. Perhaps the greatest freak athlete in the history of MMA. Jon Jones has a reach advantage of 84.5 inches and comes from a family of freak athletes with 2 brothers who compete in the NFL. So it was no surprise that Jon Jones was going to be a success in the world of MMA, but no one realised that it would be to this extent. That's right, at 23 years old, Jon Jones became the youngest champion in UFC history, claiming the light heavyweight championship from Shogun Rua, and from that point going on to defend the title successfully 8 times. But it wasn't just the defenses themselves, it was the caliber of the competition and the way that he did it. Jon Jones is a creative fighter who's finding lots of different ways to finish his opponents in ways that they've never seen before, making it increasingly difficult for his opponents to prepare for him. He seemingly had no fear putting himself in situations that other fighters would seem dangerous, just to try new and creative ways to finish the fights. It seemed like the only thing that could derail this champion from going on to be the absolute best MMA fighter of all time was unfortunately his personal battles outside of MMA. No one has ever really beaten Jon Jones for his light heavyweight championship, and at UFC 200 we were supposed to see the outcome of him versus Daniel Cormier to see who the rightful light heavyweight champion was, but because of an unfortunate USADA violation we didn't get to see the outcome of that matchup, meaning that we didn't get to see how great Jon Jones and his championship reign could have truly been. In fact, no one's ever really beaten Jon Jones because his only loss comes at the hands of the ridiculous 12-6 elbows rule in a matchup with Matt Hamill, meaning that no one can ever really say that they've got the better of Jon Jones in the octagon, and for that reason, along with his title reign, he's number 3 on our greatest champions in MMA history. Number 2, Anderson Silva. Anderson Silva amassed 10 consecutive UFC title defenses in the middleweight division, which is the most in UFC history. But it isn't just the number of title defenses, it's the way that he made world-class opponents and challengers look like amateurs. The best example of this is the famous fight with him versus Forrest Griffin, when people refer to it as if Anderson Silva was the chosen one in the Matrix, ducking and dodging every single piece of offense that Forrest Griffin had to throw at him before casually knocking him out. That fight embodies Anderson Silva's championship reign, so it's absolutely no surprise that he's at the higher end of this list. Some people feel that he should be at the top, but we're about to explain why our number 1 is GSP George St-Pierre. Now, as mentioned, people feel that Anderson Silva should be at the top of this list, but the reason that we've made GSP our number 1 greatest champion in MMA history is because not only did he successfully defend the welterweight championship 9 times consecutively, but it was the level of competition that he went up against. Every single time that GSP stepped in the octagon, it was against the absolute best of the best. And apart from 2 losses that he later avenged to Matt Serra and Matt Hughes, GSP found a way to beat them all at their own game. In training, not only would GSP have a brutal strength and conditioning regime, but he would also train in each discipline individually. He would wrestle against the world's best wrestlers, box against the world's best boxers, and grapple with the world's best jiu-jitsu players, meaning that he brought it all together and he could beat these fighters at their own game, becoming one of the best wrestlers in the UFC, even though it wasn't part of his original background that got him into mixed martial arts. as well as his successful title defenses against the very best competition. We should also mention the fact that GSP is a huge pay-per-view draw. He's a role model for the sport, and he embodies everything that mixed martial arts is supposed to be. GSP has it all, and for that reason, he is our #1 greatest champion in MMA history. I hope you've enjoyed this list. You can follow me at @JoeSHendry. I've been Joe Hendry, and I shall see you next time.